All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into a televised debate that absolutely erupted into an ideological firestorm. And really, it blew the lid off a huge, simmering tension at the heart of modern faith and power.
So, a recent Pakistani TV debate. It wasn't just heated, it was explosive. And a single searing line like this one, well, it didn't just kick off an argument, it pretty much set the tone for the entire fiery confrontation.
Right, because this wasn't just some personal spat between two guys on TV. This was a battle for the very soul of modern Islamic authority. It was tradition versus activism playing out live for everyone to see. So let's dig in and figure out what was really at stake here.
What we saw was a showdown between two really prominent figures. And in their clash, a deep, and I think growing, crack in contemporary religious thought was laid bare for all to see.
So on one side, you've got Sahil Adeem. He's a popular speaker, kind of known for shaking things up and for his sharp critiques of the religious status quo. And then, in the other corner, you have Mufti Sakhawat, a traditional scholar and a very staunch defender of the clerical institution that he represents.
You know, the hostile vibe of this whole debate was pretty much cemented early on, all because of this one word, kibr. Adeem accused the Mufti of having it, defining it as this specific kind of arrogance where you just refuse to even listen to another person's point of view. That accusation immediately set the stage. This wasn't just going to be a clash of ideas, but a fight over who even gets to speak for Islam.
Okay, so let's break down Adeem's core argument. He's essentially saying that the clerical establishment has fundamentally betrayed some of Islam's most important political and social principles.
His point is that, for generations, these scholars have been pushing a version of Islam that's, well, politically toothless. A version that teaches followers to just quietly obey whoever's in power, which pretty much takes faith right out of the public square. And Adeem's saying, hey, this completely flies in the face of our own history. He brings up these giants of Islamic history like Imam Hussein, who made the ultimate sacrifice standing against an unjust ruler, and even Imam Abu Hanifa, who was martyred because he refused to compromise his principles for the state.
And here's where Adeem makes this really provocative claim. He says that even though most clerics in Pakistan are proud to call themselves Hanafi, followers of Imam Abu Hanifa, they're actually Yusufi. He's talking about Abu Hanifa's student, Abu Yusuf, who Adeem claims chose to compromise with power to save himself. It's a path he believes modern scholars are still on today, choosing compromise over defiance.
Okay, so that's the accusation. Now let's flip over to the defense and see what Mufti Sakhawat has to say. He's coming from that traditional viewpoint, and he's arguing for a very different and very specific role for religious scholars.
See, he argues that a scholar's job isn't to be some kind of political firebrand. Not at all. Their job is to be a spiritual guide. Their sacred duty is to interpret scripture, to help produce pious individuals, and, this is key, to stay in their lane. It is not their job to be leading political revolutions.
For the Mufti, it's crystal clear. The duty is about preserving the sacred texts, the Quran, and the teachings of the Prophet, the Sunnah. He believes this is a role that guys like Adeem completely misunderstand and frankly unfairly attack. And he pushes back hard against these big, sweeping generalizations. You can hear the frustration when he asks why critics only ever focus on the perceived flaws, while completely ignoring the immense good done by the religious establishment, like the millions of lives shaped in a positive way.
And then the whole debate takes a sharp turn. It pivots to an issue that's incredibly raw and emotional for so many people right now, the crisis in Palestine. And this becomes the ultimate real-time litmus test for both of their arguments.
So Adeem throws down this really powerful challenge, right? He asks why, in the face of such unimaginable suffering, the most powerful religious pulpits and institutions in the country haven't mobilized the public. Why, he's asking, is there this deafening silence? He uses this incredibly raw emotional framing to justify his own harsh tone. He's basically saying that when you're facing brutal violence, polite debate is a luxury we can't afford. For him, the clergy's silence isn't some kind of pious restraint, it's a massive moral failure.
And right there, that just perfectly sums up the fundamental divide, doesn't it? For Adeem, faith demands action. The mosques have a duty to get people involved. But for the Mufti, faith demands that you stick to your God-given role. Foreign policy, well, that's the government's job, not the clergy's.
So when you strip it all away, what do you have?
This messy, chaotic, and often personal TV debate actually pulls the curtain back on a court tension that a lot of believers are grappling with today, far, far beyond Pakistan.
Yeah, it really boils down to this. Is faith primarily a private matter, all about personal piety and spiritual guidance, or is it supposed to be an active, public force that you must use to go after justice in the world?
Look, this debate doesn't offer any easy answers. Not at all. Instead, it just leaves us stuck with the exact same profound, difficult questions that these two speakers were wrestling with. It forces us all to ask what the real purpose of religious leadership is in our world today.
So ultimately, when you were staring injustice right in the face, what is the true measure of faith? Is it best expressed through patient guidance or through righteous anger, through preserving order or demanding change? That's the question this whole thing leaves on the table for every single one of us to answer for ourselves.